Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another live stream. We are talking about graphics issues, quantity access labels, and plots.
Right, so this was the email from Oliver as the starting point.
I'm not wild about this. We use square brackets for other things. That's kind of a notation that people have used, and I don't know. I mean, we don't have this issue at this point, right? We've got a label and we've got the units. Where will we put the units on their own? Do you understand my question?
Units on their own, which is what we're doing right now on like the y-axis, for example. Right.
Okay, so we got a bit of a mess pile here.
Hello.
Oh God, I wish you wouldn't do things like say S equals. It's going to mess up the whole session, but whatever. Okay. Why didn't that label the seconds on the on the x-axis?
You mean on the tick labels or on the axis?
Usually we label united quantities, correct? Do you understand
Usually
what I'm saying?
where? I mean, like, if
On
you
the
did like
axis.
that quantity 3 seconds on its own, it shows up as 3s.
No, I know,
Yes,
but in plots, right? In list plot, if I'm not mistaken, do I have to explicitly do it? If we say table, quantity, random, real, 10, comma, meters.
I don't think you need the table. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay, now there's a way of getting the
Right,
units
and
to
that is
show up
axes
here.
labels goes to automatic.
Okay. Okay, okay, so that has meters there, represented that way. So now, if I were to do...
And in the future, we want that to have its own spot, because
yes,
if
it
you
doesn't
give
make
your
sense
own...
otherwise.
Right.
Right, I got
Right.
it.
Okay, good.
Right, so here, okay, that labels the x-axis, right?
Right.
With an italic x.
Yes.
Right?
And so now the one we're looking at is the collision of these two things.
I realize that. I know. I understand. I'm trying to get a sense of what...
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I have to say that in the collision case, saying 10M there, not for all of them, but that would make the most sense to me. Well, let's just see. What are the options that you have? Putting square brackets is not a good option. I don't even know what that is.
I mean, square brackets and parentheses are both
just...
used.
I know. It's not a very good option for us since we're writing code and so on, right?
Right.
So do we have any other suggestions?
Maybe we should... I do like square bracket, but maybe it needs to be a special kind of bracket.
Well,
I mean,
and it needs to be a little gray, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think...
But also the other thing we want is another placement, not sort of... I still want to be able to have a label without that, don't you think?
Well, there is a label. It's right there.
I know, but in the future, it's like, let's say that there were the x-axis was in millions of something of seconds.
Yeah, well then it should say millions of seconds, right? In the units part, it should be million seconds.
Right.
Okay, so basic question: do you guys have a suggestion for what to do other than just square brackets?
What I was thinking as a possibility is we have a thing called quantity form, right?
Do we have it right now?
Quantity form exists right now, has for quite a while.
Okay, what does it do?
It controls how quantities typeset.
Yeah, I understand.
So it can,
I know. I mean, you can look it up. I'm sure it affects how short the shortening
Right.
and all that kind of
Is
stuff.
seconds the word seconds? Is
Yeah,
it the
I
letter
understand.
S?
Long form, abbreviation, etc. Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I was thinking as I was looking through this is I wonder whether quantity form could be used as sort of part of a syntax for axis labels. So like axis label goes to quantity form of
I
automatic
understand.
comma
Yeah.
square brackets or
Yes, I understand. I got the idea. I don't think it's a great idea, but let's think about it through a little bit. We've
right.
got three
And
things that we hold on. We've got three things that we think we want here. Okay, we've got basically the the variable on the axis slash its name
mhm.
of quantity.
Yep.
We've got the units of the quantity,
Yep.
and we've
Poss-
got the
possibly,
extension, the multiplier
right.
for the units. Or we might have things that say things like log or something, possibly. I don't know.
That's a case I hadn't thought of, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
you do see that in
Yeah.
times.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
What I always thought was important to not get in the way of what users might want to do. So we need I feel like we need two spots, not, one that's kind of aligned with the numbers, the tick labels.
yeah, and one that's aligned with the axis itself.
Yeah.
Right. But that's going to look on the horizontal axis. This is what I was just saying. I mean, on the horizontal axis, right, we could put seconds here after the 3.0.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or millions. That would all look great.
Right. What about on the vertical axis?
I think I think you could put it, like
underneath, tucked underneath the 100.
I didn't think of that, but slightly above it. But maybe we should try both. I think it should. I don't know yeah.
Okay. So what we've got is the quantity multiplier. Well, wait a minute. Right now, we never have both the axis name
And the unit.
right,
Why do we not have that?
because none of I don't think plots. What happens in a plot if there is both a unit and a
Right. So that's what that first example is, right? It's showing the variable in preference to the unit.
But also in the future with data, I think we're going to have more and more named components.
I mean, and that's one of the end examples a little bit further down. Right. So if we have tabular time series, that sort of thing, are we using string?
yes, right. So what do we do here? What should we do here? That's centimeter centimeter, but then we want to have
want a
petals
way,
and
perhaps
irises.
to have sepal length centimeters or.
Okay, so but I think what Roger is suggesting, which I kind of agree with, and we need graphic design mock-up of it, is to drop the units. I don't think this looks particularly good because I think it would be much better if the
I think
centimeter was aligned with the numbers.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had it because that's what we had.
Okay,
But with
fine.
the new axis, we have new choices. We can design in how it should be. So that's the big scene sort of
All right.
upgrades.
So I think what we should do is try and mock up some things where basically we've got about three things. We've got dropped to the level of the numbers
Mm-hmm.
and or stacked underneath the numbers. We've got, let's say sort of millions cm or something. See what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's the multiplier. And we need a way to specify that we should use multiplier rather than use 10 to the whatever for the individual whatsits. I mean, it could be a scaling function, or it could be something else. What do you think?
I think it's something slightly different than scaling functions.
Okay.
And right.
And I think that this will have, together with other things, big impact on readability because, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be fewer numbers in each place, for those labels. Better.
And
I think, absolutely there are things, planned that, have been prototyped, some amount and, need revisiting, along those lines. I think the question here that I'm more interested in is, what is the, automatic, resolution, in the case where, you aren't specifying lots of details, sort of what's the automatic thing, between, different types of axis labeling and units.
Sorry, say that again.
I think that we should be aggressive in pulling out multipliers, first of all. When we can, not now, but when we have the correct place to label them. And units, aren't they, either there are units or they're not. And if there are, we should use them. They should be in the right spot. Don't you think?
Sorry, say that again. What?
I think that, first of all, for automation, I think we should be aggressive in pulling out multipliers so we get small number of digits and readable scales.
Yeah, I mean, but we can say times 10 to the 6, so we can say,
right.
We can say, I mean, we might want to say, times 10 to the 6 or whatever.
Yep. Exactly. And if there are units, they should be there,
Right.
And
but what we're doing here,
I think that, we're getting more units because it's just easier to keep units around in the system. Coming in from both, of course, the knowledge base, but also more and more outside sort of.
Right. Okay. So look, we're basically agreeing that, we're going to put things at the level of the numbers. We're going to put the multipliers. And yes, I think if we can factor out a times 10 to the 6, we should do that. Much better than the word millions.
Yes.
Right? And then we should have some control, I don't know where it is exactly, that says whether we want to do that, whether we want to put them in the individual values. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't know what that.
I don't know right away either, but it
maybe it just goes into an association somewhere for one of these detailed things.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, but so I think what I'm interested in at this immediate point is starting to understand, like, if you take that list plot example, and the axes labels, you give two strings, length and width. Does that? Well, I guess we're saying we'd pull the axis labels would go where axis labels normally go, and the unit stuff would get pulled closer to those numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
That's what we wanted, because we got to sort of not have them collide. Right.
When you say where axes label normally go, that's aligned with the axis, or is it like frame label positioning?
Oh,
which is nice too.
We should probably.
Those are nice too, and then we definitely.
We should probably expand on placements.
Right. I mean, part of the scene updates that we're working on will allow axes labels to move. That they'll be able to go sort of where frame labels go currently.
Look, there's an argument that if we just give a frame label, in the case where there isn't a frame, that it could go in the frame label position. See what I'm saying?
That is an interesting idea.
Even including the ones that are in the floating in space.
Right. I was just thinking of cases where the axis goes through the middle of the plot. The label would still be below and to the left or whatever, not tight to the scale, tight to the axis.
There's also something. I mean, I might as well bring it up now since we're talking about the scene setup. But there is a thing that we've never had, but I've noticed that a lot of external documents do, and I've wanted it, but we work around it, which is something called a caption. It's a little bit, it's essentially like a legend, but it's not. And maybe that's a general thing we should have for tables and graphics, and that we allow. It's another decorator essentially for it. That shouldn't interfere with the processing of it, but should.
Sorry, what is a caption?
Caption is like typically you have a caption under a plot that says, like it says caption and then the little piece of text.
Well, it's what I use labeled for all the time.
Yes, we work around it in various ways.
Well, no, so Roger, are you thinking of something where like each graphic has a caption and then you put them in, say, plot grid and all the captions get pulled out to a unified thing underneath?
I have actually not even thought about that yet. But I run into System Modeler has captions, and HTML sort of seem to have captions. We seem to run into captions in lots of places in the world. And it's not a bad idea. It's just that we haven't had it. We have that very minimalist. But the more we're working on communicating, like you're writing blogs and books and other things, the more you kind of want it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, look, I use labeled all the time. Almost every plot I make has a label wrapped around it. Okay, and you've seen that many, many times with graphics row, et cetera, interacting with labeled.
If we have a caption thing, then one could think of different rendering styles for it. Like next, it could be when you hover over it, you get a caption, or when you.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why, but I don't particularly want that. I mean, I know what I want. It's labeled or it's whatever else. If I want it to hover, I'll put a tooltip, which I essentially never do. Okay, let's conclude on this. So, I mean, basically, we've got a variety of possibilities. We've got these different locations, and presumably we have an association that says, something like frame label or axis label goes to, and then we have, I don't know how we're labeling these things, x-axis. We need to specify these various positions and then say what goes in them.
Yep.
And the automatic case should be pull the units out, put them down on that floor, so to speak. And if there's a name for the variable, put the name for the variable there too. Right? But the units dropped. And I would think the name for the variable, when there are units, should go in the Jeremy position, so to speak, the frame label position.
Okay.
I think. That should be the default, I think.
Right. So the next two things are something that also relates to scene improvements. The first one
how
is
to indicate the grid line intersections.
Right.
I think a very crucial thing for grid lines is to not poke through the axis. We have that problem now. It poked through the labels and the axis.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
And But grid lines and grid shading, and I think that there's like if we talk about the intersection, we should talk about sort of next level up about areas too with grid shading and other things.
That's the next one.
Oh, okay. Well.
The heck is that?
Yeah, that's
like printer paper tables.
Right. I mean, if you scroll down, I should have led with the more complicated example first.
I think, yeah,
like that one, where, right. So that's a date list plot where I've shaded all the weekends.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
These other things are not good examples.
This is kind of filling meets grid lines.
Exactly. And at the moment, it's sort of very closely modeled off of mesh shading, which gives us the flexibility.
What do you mean at the moment? What's at the moment about this?
Well, I mean, so for like so like these are live graphics in your notebook, right? So what I was going to say is that I can imagine variations or alternate syntaxes to make certain things easier. And so, for example, this you provide your array of shading, and it does alternating colors type stuff between where the grid lines are. But it always starts from like the bottom left corner. So if you scroll down a little bit to where we have the light green, so you add one more grid line or things shift a little bit, and what was green flips to empty and vice versa. And so we're working now on an extension to sort of allow you to anchor things more concretely. That this interval to the this here to here, this grid line to that grid line is a particular filling style.
Sparse.
Well, we have the same issue with tables, right?
Yes.
I mean, sorry, grids, as opposed to,
Right. And so hopefully we could map over some of that as well. Some of those types of concepts as well into this. But also, when I was putting this together, it occurred to me that in the terms of that date list plot, what you really want to do is you want to just say shade the weekends or shade a particular month or something, and have it sort of do the resolution for you.
Okay. This is a complicated issue. And I don't, whatever solution we have, I guess we have John here, so maybe he can speak to the grid solution for this.
Yeah, my attention was diverted elsewhere.
Okay,
so
no problem. Okay, look, we're trying to deal with coloring, yeah.
I think there are two key sort of from a user point perspective use cases. One is you're just using it for readability. It's kind of like when you have alternating colors in a table.
Right, it's the printer paper. It's
just easier reading. Okay. And you can sort of see when things are in certain bands. And
I know. Okay. But sometimes you want these things in very particular places, like
right. So then there's the other case when it's really used to highlight something.
I understand.
And don't we have another mechanism for highlighting that already exists? For like, that's an irregular thing. Is like some form of filling or something like that. Am I crazy?
Well, I mean, you could cobble things together with what we have. So you can shade the curve itself. Like, so you can do mesh shading on the curve. And now you can do filling from that curve, and it will take on the color of that filling. Of that shading. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so it does some of that, but it's not.
I guess what
we want what we want for sure is like grid shading, which we haven't had, which is a standard feature in many systems, particularly in more information visualization, more than scientific visualization. But and I also think the future of using it as a means of highlighting is very powerful.
So although grid lines has a history of regularity, I mean, it not exclusively, but people tended to use it as a, regularly spaced thing.
But also, as I said early on,
but here there's a good likelihood for this case that you want something that's irregular, right?
Look,
well, right the now, highlighting case, yes.
Our ticks specification. I mean, have we cleaned that up yet? Do we have an association form of ticks?
Not in the system. It's been worked on. It's going to continue to be worked on.
Okay. Yes. So what we need is that combined with an association form of an association form of grid lines. Okay. I think that's what we should plan, both ticks and grid lines, to thicken them up with an association form, and maybe we have some UI mechanism to let you pick this stuff, like in the autocomplete. Am I making sense?
I think that's a good idea.
Because this is getting very, very, very complicated.
Indeed.
And so is it for grid. And I think having something that is, the analogous thing for grid would be good. Where basically there is a specification, but most of it has some words that represent some common cases, and then it has a full specification, and then it has an autocomplete that allow you to do those things.
Yeah, well, we actually have a prototype thing for grid, but that's probably that's probably 3 or 4 times more complex than anything that would come up here. Believe it or not.
Is this Kevin's thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that was complicated.
All right, so let's have a joint meeting between the grid specifications and these specifications.
I mean, I don't think that they're going to shed a lot of useful light on one another.
Well, I think we should look at them together, though, because we'd like some consistency, if not of the actual syntax of the UI. I really should get going in a moment here. So
yeah, I'm just gonna say you're welcome to try, but I am deeply unconvinced that is possible. I think that you think the grid problem and the graphics problem are more alike than they actually are.
I see. Okay, because this has coordinates and the grid is positional somehow.
Yes.
And one is infinite and the other one isn't, and
yeah.
Although there is a positional representation of grid, although it's probably hard to use.
It is, and the like the prototype inspector that we put together, it doesn't care about positions that, I mean, internally it's using positions, but that's not how you work with it,
Yeah. Okay. All right. We should wrap up here.
Okay.
Okay. See you guys soon.